I'm sensing a little drama between Xbox and Sony again. At least that's what I'm getting from this title. It says Microsoft and Xbox bought Bethesda because Sony and PlayStation tried to buy Starfield exclusively. I haven't seen this new gameplay that they dropped. There was like 40 minutes of gameplay, I think. But from like the little bit that I did see, it looks not so bad. I guess they upgraded a lot since the first one. Like they added recoil to weapons and a couple other minor things that add to it. But I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know what kind of game it is. Is it supposed to be one that you could like No Man's Sky where you can fly to different planets? And do you like there's base building? I don't know. I don't know anything about this game. I just know it's like very, very hyped. I haven't actually looked into it. I probably should though, because if it's multiplayer like online, I feel like that could be fun. If it's something like No Man's Sky, would it just be PvE or would there be PvP? Would there be base rating? What kind of game is it gonna be, bro? Is it just a looter shooter?
As many of you know, Microsoft and Xbox are fighting aggressively to acquire Activision Blizzard. And for the most part, it's been going smoothly, but there are two major hitches. The authority in the UK, the CMA, that has said no to that proposition, and Microsoft is even considering just straight up dropping out of the UK if that's the case. But then on the US side of things, there's the FTC who is trying to block this acquisition as well. And currently, Xbox and Microsoft are engaged in a legal battle with the FTC to prove that the FTC does not have a case, that this acquisition is not gonna make for unfair competition, especially when Sony is the market leader. And even compared to Nintendo, Xbox is falling behind. They're in third place,
Xbox
if you will,
ain't doing shit. Yeah,
these three. And so there's
Xbox hasn't done shit innovative in a while. I actually kind of want to get. I always had Xbox growing up, you know. I didn't have PlayStation. I was an Xbox kid. I didn't hate PlayStation or nothing. I had PlayStation 2 when that was big. That's actually what I played Resident Evil 4 on, I'm pretty sure. And that was like one of my favorite games growing up. But yeah, Xbox hasn't done anything innovative in a while. I was talking to, or whenever I was looking into buying that Spider-Man game, one of the reviews was talking about the haptic feedback from the controllers, and he was saying, yeah, I use the Xbox controller and I use the PlayStation controller. I guess he used like the newest Xbox controller. I don't see why he would pair an older one to the new PS5 controller. But he basically was like, whenever you're like swinging and anything, whenever everything is happening, you know, on the Xbox controller, yeah, it like vibrates, but it's like the same rumble every time. It just does it at different times or whatever. But with the haptic feedback on the PlayStation controllers, what it does is like if you zip like web zip, it'll do like a quick like flash. I don't know, like it'll vibrate quick. And I don't know how to explain this proper. But basically, like also whenever you jump off a building, how in the game your camera, it's like still at first and then it starts shaking. It's kind of how what the controllers do is like whenever you jump off, the controllers aren't vibrating, but then once the screen starts shaking a little bit and starts shaking more and more, the closer you get to the ground, you know, that vibration builds up as the game is building up. And you can feel like all these subtle different types of ways that it vibrates is how it was explained to me, you know. That's what made me want to get a PlayStation 5 controller, is because I was like, dude, honestly, if they're that intuitive, like if I can feel that shit in my fingers, bro, a fighting game would be cool, dude. Like getting Mortal Kombat or something, playing the Naruto games. Dude, speaking of Naruto games, there's one that this one YouTuber is building. Oh fuck, this is a Naruto game that this one YouTuber is making. I forget what his name is. I'm gonna have to look him up. I liked a couple of his videos though, because he's making a Naruto game and it actually looks fucking cool. Like the world is so big so that you can actually like do the running and jumping through the trees how they do on the show, like without it being obnoxious, like fucking, but like basically flying type shit. Like, I don't know, it looks really good. I'm gonna have to look up some more of his shit. I think it starts with an N, like, or maybe it starts with an A. It's an N or an A. I know that for sure. And I forget what he is calling the Naruto game. I can't remember anything of it, but I know I have him. I'm following him, like I'm subscribed to him, and the game looks fucking cool, bro. Like, I'm gonna actually get lost in that game if and when it comes out. And it's just him working on it. I don't think he has any help at all.
There's been a lot of interesting information coming out, a lot of interesting revelations that I'd like to talk about in this video. Now, I'm not going to cover every single little thing in this video, but if you want to keep track of the case yourself, I'd recommend this Verge article called FTC v Microsoft, all the news from the big Xbox courtroom battle, where it talks about how Microsoft is heading to court on June 22nd to face the Federal Trade Commission in a 5-day case that will determine the future of its $68.7 billion proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and their bullet points and hour-by-hour updates of everything that has been discussed in court. But what all this ultimately has revealed is that the FTC is woefully unprepared to fight against Microsoft and Xbox. They have not made really much of a good argument about any of their major points about exclusivity, and if anything, Xbox and Microsoft, through their own evidence, they've presented a scenario where this is all extremely hypocritical, and where the FTC is defending a market leader that engages in very similar practices to what they're claiming is bad for competition. One of the biggest bombshells that was dropped was regarding the Bethesda acquisition, and how the reason that happened is because, get this, PlayStation was trying to make Starfield exclusive to PlayStation. As Tom Warren reports here, Microsoft acquired Bethesda after hearing Starfield.
I'm tired of the exclusive shit, bro. Like, why are you trying to make it exclusive just to make people buy your console? Why don't you make everything cross-platform so that people could just buy the console that they prefer, but still be able to play with all their friends, bro? Why you guys gotta be so selfish for the fucking money? You have the money. None of you guys are even innovating anymore. You're basically trying to build mini PCs. And at this point, it's like, dude, just build your own PC. It's so much better. You can do much more on it. Not just game. You can watch movies on it. It can literally be your TV. You can hook it up to a TV. You could use an HDMI and hook it straight up to a TV. Like, I don't know, bro. PC is like... PC is the move. So fuck PlayStation and Microsoft are trying to make everything exclusive. The only reason PC has exclusives, the only reason it is exclusive is because there's not very many ways to input a lot of the stuff that's like you're using mouse and keyboard for on a fucking controller that has 5 buttons. Not really 5, it has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10, and then a D-pad and 2 joysticks. Yay. Well, this got motherfucking, you can even get extended keyboards with more shit. And they even have, like, man, they have keyboards that are half a keyboard just for your hands to fit, you know? I don't know.
Will be exclusive to PlayStation. When Microsoft heard Starfield was going to skip Xbox, Phil Spencer decided to buy Bethesda instead. The Verge published a full article on this, and here's the exact quote from Phil Spencer about all of this. When we acquired ZeniMax, one of the impetus for that is that Sony had done a deal for Deathloop and Ghostwire to pay Bethesda to not ship those games on Xbox. So the discussion about Starfield, when we heard that Starfield was potentially also going to end up skipping Xbox, we can't be in a position as a third-place console where we fall further behind on our content ownership, so we've had to secure content to remain viable in the business. One of the concerns that the FTC raises to try to block the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition, the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard, is that they're trying to make games like Starfield, these major IPs, exclusive to the platform, and yet here's a revelation that PlayStation tried to do exactly that, and all Microsoft did was essentially counteract that by making this expensive purchase of ZeniMax, under which resides
they kind of just said,
and IPs
Sony,
like Starfield,
watch
to
this.
prevent Sony from engaging in such further practices, because Sony and PlayStation continuously try to block off games from coming out to Xbox by essentially just throwing money at publishers to say, hey, here's a couple, 100.
And it's annoying too because you already have such good exclusives. Like, people are gonna buy your PlayStation already for fucking God of War, The Last of Us. I mean, if they're not gonna buy PC, but they already have good exclusives that they're still dropping sequels for, and they're still gonna have more. Like, why take a game like this that has, I don't know if it's single player. I'm just drawing the conclusion that it's multiplayer. If it's like online multiplayer, it's probably massive multiplayer, right? Online, or most of MMO, massive multiplayer online. There you go. I don't know, dog.
This'll do nicely.
Tired of the exclusion.
Million, whatever. Don't launch your games on Xbox. Keep it exclusive to PlayStation either permanently or exclusively for a time. And that's the route that Sony has taken. That's the way they've been competing against Xbox and preventing Xbox from gaining market dominance. It's the very thing that the FTC says Xbox will do, and it's bad for competition. PlayStation has been doing it with major IPs like Starfield behind the scenes. And I mean, if you look at more recent releases like Final Fantasy 16, guess what? That's exclusive to PlayStation 5. And Final Fantasy just hasn't been able to make much headway into Xbox because PlayStation continues to pay Square Enix to ensure that those games don't see the light of day on Xbox. And look, I know some will argue that there's a major difference between acquiring an entire company like Activision Blizzard and having full autonomy over those companies versus paying a third-party company to make their games exclusive on a temporary basis or whatever. But what Sony is doing is just taking a cheaper route towards trying to prevent the competition from gaining market dominance, whereas Xbox just kind of went with the nuclear option after learning that Sony tried to block off.
That's kind of cool of them, though. That's really cool of them, actually.
While Sony isn't making acquisitions on the level of an almost $70 billion purchase like Microsoft is doing, they are spending money in cheaper form to make deals that prevent those games from coming out on Xbox. And while that doesn't allow Sony to have full autonomy over those companies like a major acquisition would, they are still influencing the release of those games. And so Xbox feeling like Sony is just digging into places where...
Dude, it's even annoying whenever it's not even like exclusive, it's just exclusive temporarily. Like, I remember, I'm pretty sure... What game was it? What game was it? I mean, it might have even been a few games, but I remember there was a couple games, or I remember at least one game came out and it was exclusive to PlayStation. I mean, it might have even been Call of Duty. A game that big, I don't know. I'm kind of talking out of my ass, but basically PlayStation had exclusivity for the first few weeks while it was after it came out, or if not few months or something, and it was kind of just like, well, what the fuck? Now they're getting way ahead of all the people that are on Xbox and PlayStation, or on PC. So basically, by the time everybody else gets a hold of it, those people are fucking overpowered and overgeared, or they already got all the cool stuff. They don't have to grind as much at that time. They got ahead. So I don't know. I feel like exclusivity just fucking sucks.
They feel like if this game doesn't come out on Xbox and if this game becomes exclusive to PlayStation, then Xbox has no chance from coming out from third place. With that in mind, they felt like they had to purchase ZeniMax and Bethesda. So that's a really interesting revelation, and that, I think, really makes a strong case for Xbox and weakens the FTC's case that Xbox is doing all this crazy anti-competitive stuff when PlayStation is essentially, because of how hard they went with trying to prevent certain major releases from coming to Xbox, they instigated the move for Xbox and Microsoft to purchase ZeniMax and acquire IPs from Bethesda. Phil Spencer also emphasized that Sony does get 30% of any game sold on their platform, including Xbox ones. and that a lot of that revenue is essentially being used to make deals with companies so that those companies don't release their games on Xbox. He said every time we ship a game on PlayStation, Sony captures 30% of the revenue that we do on their platform, and then they use that money among other revenue that they have to do things to try to reduce Xbox's survival on the market. Microsoft is a huge company, but as far as competitiveness in the gaming landscape goes, Xbox is not ahead of the pack. Sony is certainly the leader.
Oh, shit.
And Sony is engaging in tactics that the FTC is castigating against Xbox, but not putting the same standards on PlayStation. So it's just all of this has just weakened the FTC. Not to say that there aren't arguments to be made about Microsoft making such a major acquisition and the implications of that, but whatever the FTC is presenting in this court case, they're just completely botching this. If they are trying to show that this is bad for the industry and for competitiveness, the FTC so far has been fumbling and stumbling very incompetently. One of the points that the FTC raised is that Xbox might make certain skins exclusive, even if they do bring their games to all of the platforms out there, even if Xbox doesn't make certain major IPs exclusive to Xbox and release them on PlayStation. What if certain skins are exclusive to Xbox and incentivize people to buy the game on Xbox? Well, Sony does the exact same thing. The FTC cried that Xbox might get exclusive skins if it buys Activision Blizzard King, apparently unaware that Sony has been doing it for years. Here's Destin sharing a similar take. The FTC just said, imagine if you can only get a cool thing like a character skin on Xbox, but not on PlayStation. What would that be like? Me? I don't know. Sounds like a lot like what PlayStation has done the last 6 years. The FTC just
don't they have
feels
skins
like they really
exclusive to their
research,
consoles?
and there's just this strong bias that
Skins in
feels
games.
undeniable. They're holding these two companies to very different standards, not to mention that PlayStation has done worse things, like if you look at Destiny and how they secured not just exclusive skins, but exclusive content, exclusive missions, timed and whatnot. And you can tell that even the judge of this entire case is starting to get fed up with the FTC's poor arguments and shenanigans. Here's a bit from Tom Warren.
The judge is like, bro, these motherfuckers keep fucking me over, man. I've been supporting Xbox this whole damn time. I'm about to have to put my gavel down on them, bro. He's probably an Xbox fanboy. Or maybe his kid likes Xbox and is like, Dad, stop letting Sony get away with this, bro.
From The Verge, apparently there was an audible oof in the courtroom after Judge Corley cut off the FTC's questions. I don't need that. I'm going to cut off your questioning, said Judge Corley.
Damn, everyone in the crowd was like,
FTC asking Phil Spencer to commit to releasing Call of Duty on cloud as well. It reads right here that Judge Corley cut in when the FTC was asking if Phil Spencer could legally bind Microsoft into keeping Diablo on PlayStation. A Microsoft lawyer objected, and Judge Corley said, your point has been made, move along. And then later, Judge Corley directly cut off the FTC's questioning of Spencer after the regulator's lawyer asked if Spencer could make a Call of Duty commitment for bringing the game to PlayStation's cloud service. I don't need that. I'm going to cut off your questioning, said Judge Corley. That was not even like an objection. Judge Corley stepped in with nothing from the lawyers and said, I've heard enough of this shit. Shut up. That does not tend to happen unless a judge is really like, you're just offering nothing for this case right now. You're just dragging things along, grasping at straws. That's where the FTC is at 2 days into this 5-day-long court case. This is interpreted by many as Judge Corley just being tired of the FTC's unreasonableness and stupidities. The FTC's case further falls apart with a revelation that Microsoft provided during the opening of the hearing between them and the FTC. One that essentially proves that Jim Ryan, PlayStation's CEO, knew that this whole ordeal, this whole acquisition of Microsoft buying out Activision Blizzard was not about exclusivity at all. Microsoft's lawyer Beth Wilkinson dropped a bombshell email from Sony's PlayStation chief Jim Ryan during her opening statement. Sony's PlayStation chief didn't really think Call of Duty would go exclusive to Xbox and that PlayStation would be fine. This has been the crux of PlayStation's entire argument. They've been saying Call of Duty is too big of a video game for one company to control. It is anti-competitive for Microsoft to acquire Activision Blizzard, and I don't believe in their promise that they're gonna make Call of Duty available to other platforms as well. And yet, here's an email where Jim Ryan's like, I'm bullshitting about that. I actually know that they're going to make Call of Duty multi-platform because Microsoft and Xbox would actually lose money by making that exclusive because it sells so well across so many platforms, just like how it would be a stupid idea to make Minecraft exclusive because it sells so well that even if other platform holders take the 30%, Microsoft and Xbox benefit from how widely played and accessible Minecraft is. Same with Call of Duty. Jim Ryan knew this. He straight up said in his email, it is not an exclusivity play at all in regards to Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. They're thinking bigger than that, and they have the cash to make moves like this. So this is straight up an admission from Jim Ryan that he's been making a false argument to rile up the public. It's never been for him about protecting the gamers and whatnot. It is just corporate maneuvering on his part. We have some good stuff cooking, said Jim Ryan in his email referring to the Bungie acquisition. I'm not complacent, and I'd rather this hadn't happened, but we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay. Jim Ryan straight up admits that if Microsoft acquires Activision Blizzard, it would suck, but it's not the end of the world. Whereas publicly, Jim Ryan's been saying, you guys, this would be the end of the world. Call of Duty is such a big part of the PlayStation business with how much money we make from this. And if they cut us off from Call of Duty, then that would be anti-competitive, yada, yada, yada. All of that falls apart by Jim Ryan's own admission. And Microsoft pointing out this email, they told the court that Sony has known all along will stand by our promise of making Call of Duty multi-platform, and that PlayStation has been lobbying against the deal to protect its dominant position in the market. And in turn, Microsoft is making the argument that the ones being anti-competitive right now is the FTC by protecting this market leader. Microsoft made it a point to highlight, just full-on admitted that they are in last place in the so-called console wars. Microsoft says Xbox has lost the console wars ahead of the FTC case today. Microsoft is keen to show Xbox is in third place. Microsoft reveals Xbox had 16% share of console sales in 2021 and 21% of the console install base. And there's a lot more than that. Again, read that Verge article, that piece where they summarize all of the goings-ons over the last 2 days, and there's more to come, so we'll see what kinds of other bombshells we'll hear throughout the course of these days. But right now, the general sentiment is that the FTC case is exceedingly weak. This is Richard Hoeg, a lawyer who is tuning into all this and just knows the circumstances here much more intimately. He says the FTC's case is exceedingly weak. And then in a separate tweet, Richard Hoeg said that, I gotta say, it feels like the FTC is in the weeds today. They're having trouble convincing that Xbox even would make Activision Blizzard games exclusive, and that's only half the argument they need to make. Good luck to them in establishing that exclusivity will have even a small effect on overall competition. That's why they're fighting so hard against Nintendo. Honestly, I thought the FTC would be more prepared than this. These weaknesses were apparent for months, and they don't appear to have any strategies regarding them at all. Look, regardless of what your stance is on whether the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard is competitive or anti-competitive, whether you think it's a good thing or not, I personally don't have a horse in this race. I, one way or the other, don't care what the outcome is. This is ultimately still a corporate battle, regardless of what your stance on all of this is.
I don't want fucking... I don't know. I don't want to have to buy a whole console just to try out a game that looks interesting, you know? That's such a waste of money. Or not even a waste, it's just kind of like a big fuck you. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, they're also updating their consoles every year, right? They're coming out with a new model. So it's like you're buying a console to play a certain game, but then that console is going to be obsolete the next year. The game might not be, the game could be timeless, but the console is going to be obsolete the next year because there's going to be a better one. And it's going to do cooler things, maybe even one cooler thing, but that one thing is going to be like, damn, I should have waited, you know? I don't know.
As things stand now, the FTC has done nothing to really move the needle all that much, at least in terms of sensible arguments. And all that's come out of this case so far is the hypocrisy of CEO Jim Ryan. There's a stark contrast between what he's saying in public versus what he's saying in private about what he believes about the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. In public, he's saying this is anti-competitive and would make competition unfair. Internally, he's saying this is not the end of the world for us. We'll be fine. We're in a good position, but let's try to stop this if we can. Make up BS in the eyes of the public and just straight up tell lies and say things like, oh, we're here to protect the gamers. No, Jim Ryan is there to protect corporate interests. I'm willing to keep an open mind and
Take that
listen
wallet,
to
boy.
both sides of the conversation, but right now this court case seems pretty damn one-sided. And the judge
Even the
agrees
judge,
to the point
yeah.
where they're cutting off the FTC mid-argument.
Even the
'cause
judge is like,
the
bro,
FTC is just
Sony,
not
you
making
gotta-
good, convincing arguments that are sensible or reasonable. So that's kind of where things currently sit. There's a lot riding on this court case because the FTC filed this injunction against Microsoft. If Microsoft doesn't overcome that and doesn't close this whole thing by July 18th, Microsoft has until July 18th to try and close its proposed acquisition.
month?
Otherwise, it has to pay $3 billion in breakup fees to
$3
Activision Blizzard or
billion.
renegotiate new terms. That's a lot of money. Those are a lot of hurdles to overcome if this doesn't close by July 18th. So Microsoft's attorney made it very clear that preliminary injunction case determines the fate of the merger. If we can't close by July 18th, nobody could withstand that. We certainly can't. How this particular court proceeding goes could completely terminate this merger, or it could allow it to have extra legs and for Microsoft to continue fighting for this. So we'll see how all of this plays out. So far, though, honestly, as far as the FTC stuff is concerned, unless the FTC has a much better case to present over the next coming few days, Microsoft is honestly looking like it's in a pretty good position. But that's one man's take on all of this, and this is the information that I have to present to you guys. Again, do your own
At
research,
least, like,
look at the Verge's article, and look at all of the different summaries that are out there.
At least the
It is a
judge can
lot
realize,
to-
like,
to
yo,
digest.
how
In
you
the
gonna say
meantime,
one
let me know in the
thing
comments
when
below what
you've
your
already
thoughts
been
and opinions are
participating
on
in
all
that
this and how
shit?
you think this will all ultimately play out. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
Young out. Yeah, no,
My mana is gone.
it's really interesting. Oh shit. That's really interesting that Sony's trying to, like, I don't know, man. It's like they're the only ones that want to be exclusive now. I don't even think Halo's had a good exclusive. I mean, Halo. I don't even think that's basically the only fucking thing Microsoft really has, right? That's exclusive. Halo. I don't know. Why Sony gotta be so selfish, bro? I mean, they're finally letting making PC ports for their games, but they're games that are like 10 fucking years old. Why not make a PC port for it on day one? I don't know, man. I feel like everything should be made for PC. That way it's already optimized and it'll, like, consoles will be able to run it, you know? All they have to do is basically scale it down, you know? But it'll be fully optimized for, like, all consoles, you know? Especially the better these consoles are getting. Make everything universal.
AFK between the second.
What the fuck was that?